This conference will now be recorded.
Coming right as
The atomic clock.
Mine shows two.
There we go.
do I started the recording? Right on?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to call this meeting, the Finance Committee for the City of Roswell, to order, August 3rd. And Councilor Perry, you on the line?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry for joining at the last moment. I did not realize the GoTo meeting had closed their old app and you had to download the new one. But I'm ready to go.
Okay. So we'll count that as he's here and you note the members that are entertained.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we've got roll call. Approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
Councilor.
that we might take item 10, the action item, and move it down, non-action item, and it becoming item number 12. And then therefore items 11 becomes item 10 and item 12 becomes item 11.
Any comments, Councilor Perry?
Just for clarification, the only changes 10 now becomes discussion item instead of action. There's no others put on action, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any objections? Okay, the agenda has been approved. And we'll start with approving a financial commitment to fund the Roswell Transit.
That's me.
That'd be you?
That's me.
Okay.
So this is a housekeeping item that we have to do every single year. And it is guaranteeing that the city of Roswell will fund Roswell Transit for the year 25, fiscal year 25. And that's the federal year, fiscal year 25. I know that you just put to bed 24, but we always have to come the next month and ask for money for 25. I have to ask for a specific amount. That's what's required from the DOT. However, limiting factor is how much money we actually have to spend in the city's budget for that year. We have no idea at this time how much we're going to have for 25. But so what normally, I mean, if this were up to me, I would just ask for approval to be commit to fund us something, at least what we had in the past. But instead of that, we have to ask for a specific number. So we put together a budget with NMDOT and we're asking for the local matching funds of $922,900.60, which is, I believe, almost double what they're providing this year, isn't it, in the realm of 400 and something thousand. And that's what we do every year. Every year we ask for the move, and then it gets limited back down to a 1 star. And we're perfectly happy with that, but it at least keeps us always moving forward. So I don't know, I think were you guys here last year for this housekeeping item? So do you have any real questions about what this is about?
I understand that we're saying we'll look at it and do our best 2 years.
Yes. Right. I just don't want it to make it look like you're making a promise to fund us this amount by the time we get to that point. But I have to have a resolution that I can submit with my budget to the NMDOT. They don't even make the decision about what they're going to fund us until a year from now.
Right.
Yes.
Understand. Any questions? And
For the record, Councillor Foster joined us at 2:03.
okay. Any questions?
Do you have any questions?
No.
No, not here.
So I don't know if this can go to consent or if it has to go
I
to.
think it's consent item.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Councilor Perry, you have any questions?
No, sir.
Well, I guess I'm ready for a motion.
Okay. Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I move that we approve resolution 23XX approving the city of Roswell financial commitment on the Roswell transit for federal fiscal year October 21, 24 to September 30, 25 to be placed on the consent agenda.
Second.
Do that, Jeff. Harry. Just 'cause it takes him a long time. See, he can say something and then there's a delay, so.
Sound travel.
I'll make a note right here.
Any objection, any opposition? Motion passes 4-0. Okay. Next is disposal of certain surplus property.
We're back in the business again. I'm selling cars. I have 3 fire trucks and a bunch of junk.
Tell me about these fire trucks.
Our junk. Yeah. We have 2 fire trucks that actually run and one of them that doesn't. So it would make a nice planter for somebody.
If we don't violate some code violation somewhere.
That's code enforcement's problem. So yeah, public surplus on those items, public surplus, the company that does the stuff for us, those are specialty items and they do extra marketing for us and that as part of their fee. So. You'll start seeing quite a few of these over the next couple of months as we get caught up again after inventory.
Any questions?
Yeah, I do question. The touch panel for voting is in the museum. Is it a museum piece? Is it that ancient?
Oh, no, that's the touch screen that you guys use to vote at council meetings.
That was $323,000.
What is that?
Wow. That might be a typo.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah.
Just curious what that was.
I'll have to check on that one. I'll make sure if it's a correction, I'll let you know at the council meeting.
Yeah, it'll come off the books, whatever you have it on the books for.
Yeah.
So just in there. Okay, that answered my question.
Any other questions? Good. Motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to place, this is a resolution, correct? Yes, it's resolution 2377, considering recommending approval of and authorizing disposal of certain surplus personal items to be placed on the consent agenda on the city council's full city council meeting.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Solid Waste Purchasing Authority, Abraham.
Chair, members, we're coming to you with a purchasing authorization to exceed the $60 for 2 individual items. Regularly every year. From the Miller Engineering, we're asking for it not to exceed $14,000. Holding of the amount of $150.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but I am not hearing Abraham. I apologize, Abraham. If you're closer to one of the microphones, that would help me. Thank you.
I'm moving up.
Can you hear me now, Mr. Councilman?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so we're coming today for a purchasing authorization request for our fiscal year 23-24 for our environmental engineering, which is a not to exceed amount of $200,000, and also Snyder Tank Holdings, which is $150,000. Each request is a not to exceed. So what we'll do is when we get to that exceedance or that 200,000 mark, we'll be coming back to council to ratify it. Also, this is going to streamline our purchasing, allows us to purchase and be made in a timely manner. And this is a concept that we've been using for other departments to not to exceed that $60,000. So we want to get that authorization ahead of time. Of our environmentals, they range anywhere between 129,000 all the way up to 180,000, depending on what's going to happen in the year. We don't know what will happen. We can come down. the state will come down with regulations or the federal government come down. So we tap the environmental engineer to help us draft letters to respond to complaints on environmental issues. And also Snyder Tank Holdings, we do not have a contract with them. Those are our 90-gallon containers. A full load is about $80,000. So instead of getting partial loads, with this approval, we'll be able to make full purchase loads and pay the full freight and get the, and then that's how much time for any questions, councilors.
Question.
I noticed Miller Engineered follows under CES. Snyder Tank Holders has an ITD 21007. That,
Snyder, that does not have an ATV. Those are the 300 gallons, so that must have been a typo.
that we do not have.
300 gallon containers they do, we do have a contract for them. This one we do not, so we can not exceed $60,000.
Okay, so you're saying we can't exceed 60,000, but the full load is 80,000?
So we're only getting partial loads. We'll get a quarter of a truck. That's all we're spending, then we have to come back to council. We'll come back to council either 2 or 3 times throughout the year to get that 60,000 approval. This will do it one time. Be able to do a full purchase of the load. Freight is about anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 for freight.
My question is, if they don't, they're not a CES contract?
No.
And so how are we able to purchase from them? I mean, are they?
We go out for 3 different bids. Actually, Solar, Snyder,
Anything over 20,000 for a 3-price quote.
Snyder Tech Holding is actually a sole source.
Okay, but it's an approved sole source?
Yes.
Okay, then that's what I was saying. How can we approve something that we have to do 3 bids for? But if it's a sole source, I'm okay with it.
I also I have a sampling of our recent environmentals, about $126,000. But this, like I said, it fluctuates throughout the year, depending on the issues that come forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for me?
My question is, are these the amounts for your budget for 24?
Yes.
And was that the total amount of your budget? For those line items?
No, it was very less. So we had to make some adjustments.
Okay. Other questions?
Barry, you have any questions?
No, sir.
I guess I'm ready for a motion.
Oh, okay. Harry gets off the hook because he's out of town, so. Mr. Chairman,
Proceed.
I recommend our approval of a solid waste purchasing authorization request be sent to full council.
Go on consent agenda.
Consent agenda, that's fine.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any further discussion? Any opposed?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Counselor Hildebrand, I don't expect it makes a whole lot of difference, except for to say, could we concur that that's up to 350,000? I think we'll probably end up having to come back and go over that, but can we make that up to 350,000?
Sure. I think that's what the, see, it's not to exceed 350,000. But we really should be not to exceed 200,000 to Miller Engineers and not to exceed 150,000 for Snyder Tank Holding. That's what the motion should say.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none, passes 3-0.
4-0.
4-0.
4-0. Excuse me.
That
There's
doesn't
3
mean-
sitting here. Oh,
I'll make him take off his shoes now.
all right, now we've got You don't have to pick on for this one. I see his signature on some of it.
Just as, didn't give anybody's name here.
Initiated by
Well, somebody initialed it right over
Police clerk.
here. All right, go ahead. I'll let you take it.
Very good, thank you. Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. This is another housekeeping item. We have our annual dues for the municipal league. The purchase price is over 60,000. And in your packet is the purchasing limits from September 2015. Also the invoice for the municipal league. And then I have a handout here that shows where they calculated our gross receipts tax, and then they capped the city of Roswell at 75,000. And I stand for questions.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Are we approving two things at once here?
Yes.
We're not approving that.
No, that was just she had provided that for me when she sent over the invoice.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve expenditure of $75,000 for membership for the New Mexico Municipal League be placed on the consent agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. Hearing none. Any opposition? Hearing none. Give me time for his voice to get here. Passes 4-0.
I wonder if our voice takes just as long to get there.
Well, maybe I need to add another second. All right, so next we got the control units.
Sir, Mr. Chair and City Council members. Thank you. We are here asking for the consideration and approval of purchase of 11 2023 Dodge Durango Police Patrol units from the Way Auto Group out of Los Angeles, Mexico. This police department is in need of new police units to replace older units, some as old as 2012, and we've actually identified some as early as 2009, I believe. 2008. That are still being used as spares. Most of these are in high mileage, in excess of 100,000 miles. These vehicles will be purchased under the New Mexico State Price Agreement. Purchase of the police units would be done through a junior appropriations funds, which is 23ZH9175, which the city of Roswell was awarded the amount of $485,000 for the purchase of the police units. I stand for any questions.
I was going to sign and execute it.
Yep. And I hold in my hand the appropriation reimbursement that has to do with the expenditure, and we need to thank our local legislators for making sure they were taking care of us. This matter. If it wasn't for them, it wasn't going to happen. Okay, any other questions? Mr. Max.
I did talk with the governor's office about it, and they did not have any extra money that wasn't allocated at this time. They said they would keep us under consideration if they find something, that they would work with us on seeing what we can get. They also suggested that if we, in a lot of our capital outlay stuff, there's places in there that you can request a police car, and they said to be sure to put us on the list, put the city on the list of needing cars, because I know we have a number. You know, what are we getting, 11 here?
Yes, sir.
11, I see, I know there were 7.
16 is too
Yeah,
big.
there were a whole bunch of Crown Vics that were bad, and then 11 other cars. So we're still short at least 8 or 9 cars, I think, from what we probably ought to have a more efficient.
Yes, sir. Actually, if we could actually double this next year, that would get us on a better path to where we would have pretty much a newer fleet, the oldest ones at that point in time. If we could double this, if we could do this again within our next ICIP process, then we would have probably our oldest ones on our patrol fleet would be 4 years old, 4 to 5 years old. And so we would be in a good position at that point in time, and then hopefully try and work on a yearly replacement of however many we could, and it would keep a good involvement rather than having 10 to 15-year-old cars. Still,
Yeah.
we've got guys that are, we've got cars that are duct tape, silicone, belted wired. So, we're trying our best.
Would it help if we had a rule that anyone who wrecks a patrol car has to get an old car when they come back? And then that way, they gives them a lot more incentives not to wreck an old car, a new car.
That rule's been in place.
They get the dog house.
Why don't we put some of these little scooters around here?
That has been an option. We just have to use a city credit card to do it.
There you go.
Thanks to James. It's not our problem.
Okay. I'd like to also point out that item 15 is a complete breakdown of the RPD vehicle report. So we can look at that in closer detail here a little bit and see how crippled we really are on this thing. And this is Southfield 2 junior money. So that means it was some of the surplus that the state had. It's not bonded money, which makes a lot of difference to me personally. So we're not bonding something for 20 years that's going to wear out 5 to 8, unless you send it down here. We'll keep it for 12, it sounds like.
Look better.
All right. Any further questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, how are we handling this? Is all 16 junior money? I know it's
No.
on our agenda as, so is the 11 junior money and then the 5 is coming out of budget? Okay, and so are we needing to handle these as 2 separate and then then upfitting them, the 16 total will be a separate item?
Right.
Okay.
If they get a positive vote on this one.
Yeah, I get it. Okay.
We can always turn them loose and say, no, we're not going to give you squat. Yes, Mayor.
Is there any possibility of how we can figure out how to buy some of these vehicles? And I think, aren't a lot of those vehicles under a national contract or something, so we can at least buy the vehicles from our local dealers?
Well, we have reached out in the past. We have reached out to our local dealerships. They have been unwilling to go on to a state contract because they identify that they can sell off the lot. The state contract, there's a lot of hoops that they have to do. By my understanding, I don't know as far as how a dealership operates, but by what I have, there are a few hoops to go through. And Mr. Hildebrand may be able to speak a little bit more clear on that. But they have been unwilling at this point in time. It's not a matter that we don't want to purchase those. It's just that when we go on the state contract, a pricing agreement, we don't have to do 3 bids to hunt different ones, and then on the state contract, it always comes in cheaper. We have reached out to them. They choose not to participate at this point in time on the state contract.
I just figured we got to do all the things, for the warranty work anyway.
Well, a lot of that, depending on the warranty that does come through, is that, and I agree 100%, that has been some of the negative on buying from Malloy out of Albuquerque is that if we do have or find warranty issues, we have to haul them to Malloy. I mean, it's not a have to, no, but we
do.
But we do, and we have because I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but we have had some negative pushback. You didn't buy it here. And so, like I said, I'm not trying to throw rocks. It's just the way it's just the way it's.
Who's going to make them?
Well, they have to service those vehicles.
There's
They're
a
authorized.
company that breaks for 12,000 miles. We've got vehicles that are losing them at 5. They will not
Service those vehicles. They cannot turn you away.
We actually.
If they are turning you away, there needs to be a really one-to-one conversation. And I'll tell you, the other thing is you got to have volume to make these things work for a dealer. And Malloy is getting all that volume up there, or all these dealers are up in Albuquerque where they're getting volume. And for someone down in this part of the state, you're just not going to get the volume to compete with these guys. There's not enough vehicles on the road as to what is available up there. So that's why you're not going to see dealers down here do it. And then they need to keep an additional inventory, and they don't know when that inventory is going to get drawn out. And so there's additional costs for that. So that's why you're seeing these people up in Albuquerque be the only ones that want to do this kind of business. So
Is there a possibility of getting the dealers in, for like all the Dodge dealers in Andy, Lee, Lincoln, and Travis County getting together and putting in?
I think this is per business, and that would not be a business. Those are individuals that do this, like Malloy. They're an individual business. You can't create a consortium, I don't believe, under the state's purchasing laws to make that happen. That's something that has to be approved by the state. I don't think you can do that. So I get where you're coming at, but the thing about it is you just got to have enough volume. Now, if they're refusing to do the service on those vehicles under warranty, then we just need to have a little conversation. Somebody does.
Maybe we can take you because you have some.
Yeah, and no problem in calling Dodge and say, your dealer won't do this. Why won't he do it?
Well, we had problems with the previous Ford dealer here when we bought some of our stuff.
Right.
Took it over there. We're not servicing it. And I got a hold of the regional Ford guy.
Yeah.
And the next day we were scheduling it.
Yeah.
I would add, Mayor, deputy chiefs did their due diligence statewide. The dealerships in Albuquerque and one in Raton. So the majority of police rated vehicles, they're hard to come by nowadays. So I applaud the deputy chiefs for taking care of this months ago. We actually got a really good price on the Dodge Durangos, locked it in months ago. Right now, if we were to do it, it'd probably be higher. Also, by searching out, we were paying $17,000 to get each car equipped. We found a place now that is doing it for $12,000 plus. So they actually did their homework, reached out, and we saved a lot of money by doing that. It's in Albuquerque, but right now it's working out great because those cars from Malloy will get transported directly to the facility that's going to outfit them, and then they bring them straight to us. So before, no matter where it was at, we were taking it to get outfitted in Albuquerque by MHQ or WEC, and we were having to go pick up the cars ourselves. So making numerous trips, taking officers off the road, staff out of the office, we were doing that. So this actually works out great for us this year. And I don't think we'll have a problem with Richland doing services. I've known the owner / GM and the sales manager for years. So we have a good relationship. So I don't foresee any issues going forward.
Anything else?
Thank you for doing the job.
Okay, what's your pleasure?
Mine or yours? Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the purchase of 11 2023 Dodge Durango Police Patrol Units from Malloy Auto Group in Los Lunas, New Mexico, in the amount of
$485,000.
Now, the junior bill was for 85.
It is.
465, 770.
Yeah. Like you said,
465 what?
I can't.
773. It's actually on the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, got it. Okay,
Got it.
do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion, second, any further discussion? We're gonna put this on the regular agenda, is that right?
Probably on the consent, it's just state appropriation money, so
Okay.
put it on the consent agenda. If somebody wants to pull it, they can pull it.
I'll do third time. So, any further discussion? Hearing none. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 4-0. Now we're to 5.
Counselor, I don't believe Jason Perry's with us any longer.
No, I'm here. I can hear everything.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I lost you on the screen, Counselor Perry. Sorry about that.
Not a problem, sir. Yeah, I'm here. I was able to hear everything. I'm glad this is getting done. This is long past due, and to get those officers into better vehicles makes them safer, and it'll be great. So, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So he's still there. We can't find you on the screen. But they'll keep looking. Moving on to the next item. We got 5 Dodge Durango units from Lloyd Dodge.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, council members, these 5, again, we're asking for 5 extra, so it'll be a total of 16 fully. The reason we had to split these up, number one, was the 11, we were using up the appropriations money. We didn't have enough, to purchase any further out of that. So these 5 are actually being bought by Lloyd Dodge out of Albuquerque. It is the same, it's kind of confusing. Malloy Auto Group is comprised of 2 different brothers that own multiple different agencies or dealerships. And so Malloy that we're buying the 11 from is MJLL Corporation. The other 5, because they did not have enough, they only had 11. So we had to go to Malloy Dodge Land, which is owned by the brother. It's a different company. And so that is why it's identified as Malloy Dodge out of Albuquerque. Again, it's to replace vehicles that we're in dire need of having. The purchase of these new police units would be done through the Police Department General Fund, which was budgeted graciously by the council and the mayor. 5 new police officers to include vehicles and equipment. The total amount funded to the Roswell Police Department for vehicles and equipment was $405,000. $212,015 would be used to purchase these 5 vehicles. And I stand for any questions on that.
Questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
My question is, when you do recruit these 5 new officers, what are they going to ride around in? That's because the money was put there for when you got 5 new officers. I'm not denying this, but what I'm asking is, what are those, when you get those 5 new officers on?
So we funnel out with the 11 new, we can't funnel out 16 cars and get rid of 16 because we're bringing in 7 new recruits.
Right.
So out of that, the officers with good driving records of time on will be in the new vehicles to replace the vehicles that will go to the newer officers. Because we put them in, usually we won't put them in brand new vehicles coming straight out of the academy. The younger they are, they might drive more haphazardly, I would say. Not reckless, but the more time you have on in law enforcement, it shows that you go slower a little bit and you don't respond to the scene as fast. You have more due diligence. So we give them a use car to make sure they're not going to crash them. Not to say older officers might not, but that's always been a policy for every police agency I've seen or worked for. So, but they will be in, like the deputy chief said, we're funneling out the old 08, 09 Crown Vics, 2011s and stuff. And so they'll hopefully be in a
4 or 5 year.
4 or 5 year vehicle.
And they have to pretty much earn their stripes.
I get that.
You know,
I get that. So they'll be in vehicles, if you take this list, they'll be in vehicles that are 2013s. You're going to knock off 11 of the old ones. Well, those are probably all going to go away.
Yeah, we'll knock off actually 16 of the old ones in theory, but we're going to have to keep a couple of them because we're gaining 7 people.
You're going to have to keep 7 of those sets.
We'll have to keep them, well, probably about 4 or 5. We lost 2 officers, resignations this month. We're having another one go to the state police in a matter of weeks.
Okay.
So probably 3 or 4 of that 16 that we were going to be funneling out, we'll have to keep.
Yeah. I'm just trying to look at the list here and see, well, they're still going to be driving old vehicles, 2013s.
right, this in itself, the 16 vehicles in itself is, in all reality, is mere banding. You know, I mean, and I'm not saying that in a negative manner because we're very gracious in what we're getting and how we're doing it.
Right.
But it is still, we're climbing an uphill battle and we're just, you know, we're a quarter way up it. And our goal is to try and get, like I said, if we can, through legislative money that we're already working on for this next go around, we're hoping to mirror the same project. And then we would be into, you know, 2015, 2016 vehicles, hopefully by that point. We would knock down all of the vehicles that are.
These cars are to outfit with the new people coming in. The new people will not be put in these due to the, you know, their time in law enforcement stuff. They'll put them in more senior officers. And they'll get those senior officers' cars.
Yeah, I just go back and look to jump ahead, Mr. Chairman, to look at the vehicle list. You know, 22, which would probably be in year 23, the 22 vehicles were probably purchased in 23. We only bought 5. And those would have been the 5 new recruits that we put forward in the 23 budget. So there was no extra vehicles bought in 22. And I guess just making an observation that we have let the units for the police department deteriorate. And so this list is really nice to see because you can see what the prior, and we should be on, as you say, X number of units every year, regardless of what the budget says. But you need to put a request in every year so that we're not faced with this 16 units that you need because you're in dire shape.
Right. So I will say, Counselor, in 2016, there was prior to that, there was a tax that went to law enforcement vehicles every year and fire vehicles that was moved in 2016 out of the police fund. So they were funded up till then. If you'll notice the list, we have a bunch of 09s, a bunch of certain years, and then you get to 2016 and it's real sporadic of, you've got a couple 2018s, 2 2019s or so on. So that's kind of where the well went dry, and here we are in the predicament we're in.
And I can attest that this has not been anything that we've waited until it's dire need.
No.
This has been a yearly continual asking.
And your requests just haven't been fulfilled, correct?
That's what I understand.
And I look at these things, you just put your request in. I don't like to set aside monies. It comes right out of the general fund. And when you start setting aside money, then you start hamstringing the city manager, you start hamstringing yourself. When you say, oh no, this portion of the revenue stream is only going to be dedicated to that. You just put it in for your request.
Yes, sir.
And you fight with the city manager to make sure he gets your request put through. And so we don't go this. It is all about the safety of not only the officer, safety of citizens. So, yeah. And thank you.
You know where they put the money?
I'm sorry.
So maybe you had the money that you had that you were buying cars. Where did it go? Do you have any idea why, or they just going to?
So all I know in the research I did, talking to the city attorney, looking into it, a law was changed statewide in 2016 in the state legislature to allow municipalities to move money earmarked for certain things that were from a tax It was signed into law and went into effect July 1st, 2016. July 7th, 2016 is when the council approved to move it to the general fund.
It was unrestricted GRT, and they took it because it was being allocated as GRT to RPD. They unrestricted it and just left it as, vague in general fund.
Was that part of the shift that occurred whenever they took the grocery receipts off of groceries and medical? Is that all part of
Yeah,
that?
well, it's a lot later because
Yeah, that was later.
was 14.
Was
It was, yeah. Well, it was actually,
That was very
it was under Martinez. The hold harmless
Was under Richards.
which, so that was way before that, but I was trying to, this would make up for the hold harmless,
Okay.
which was, I was trying to remember what year that was that Martinez did that it was either 13 or 12. I think it was
Okay.
12 that she.
Got it. Sounds to me like that was left over from, I mean, this thing got a domino effect. It's just a matter of where it falls in the succeeding years. And they did the same thing with the environmental tax. They took it, we marked it several years ago. So, all part of the same fallout, I think.
And the only thing I'd like to add is for these automobiles, because it was a junior bill, they don't have the budget authority. So we're going to override the budget authority for them to get all of this purchased, but we will be coming back with a budget adjustment for all of this grant money and stuff coming in.
All right.
Ready for a motion?
Yeah.
Chair, I make a motion for us to purchase 5 2023 Dodge Durango Police Patrol Units from Malloy Dodge Albuquerque, down at $212,015 to be placed on the consent agenda.
Second.
Got a motion, any further discussion? Hearing none. Any opposition? Approved 4-0. Okay, now we're going to talk about installation of equipment for these vehicles.
Mr. Chair and Council.
You said consent.
We're here asking again to now get approval to upfit the 2023 Dodge Durango police units. We searched diligently to try and find the best upfitting business that we could find at a reasonable price. We, in the past, have dealt with MHQ out of Albuquerque and WAC out of Albuquerque. We were approached by a company which is Dana Safety Supply. They are a extremely large company, basically all over the country. They have, I believe, 32 locations in the U.S. That's just one in Oklahoma City. We actually met with the rep yesterday here in Roswell and went over details with that person. Through bidding process or confirming, we did our due diligence as far as making sure that we contacted references. I mean, this place is pretty much the real deal by everything that we could identify. And so they actually came in on the 16 vehicles. It was $45,000 to upfit all 16 vehicles. And it was the lowest price we could find in New Mexico. And so we're asking that we're able to send these vehicles to Oklahoma. As the chief has already identified, we do have the availability with working through Malloy that they can drop ship because these vehicles are still coming out of the factory. So drop ship them from the factory all the way to Oklahoma City which saves huge transportation costs. And then Dana Corporation will receive them there, outfit them with all of the equipment. It meets or exceeds everything that we've gotten in the past by any outfitting company in New Mexico. And they said that they would, as soon as they would get 3 at a time, they would transport them to New Mexico under the same pricing that they've given us. I believe it's about $12,700 per vehicle if you break it down, whereas the lowest, cheapest price that they find in New Mexico currently was $18,000 per vehicle, and the next other company that is in Mexico was $21,000 per vehicle. So it's a huge savings that we identified, and nonetheless, to say that they're going to transport them all the way back here and still save $45,000 over the 16 years. They are, this company is based all over the country. Their corporate is out of Florida, but they've got businesses all over, and they are in Oklahoma's the nearest. They do have a New Mexico state pricing agreement. And the quote price for the outfitting of all 16 vehicles and transporting was $203,149.50. The funding would come from the Roswell Police Department General Fund, which the city did fund the $405,000 for vehicles and equipment for 5 new officers. $212,15 of that was going to be to purchase the 5 vehicles that we just went over. The remaining $192,985 would be used for this outfitting, and we would use $10,164.50 out of our equipment budget to cover the balance. And so we're not asking for any additional funds. I put the last line in here as far as a burden on the budget, because on the $405,000, I knew that was funded and it was identified to be for the vehicles and the equipment, but I wasn't 100% sure that maybe some of that was also for additional equipment or anything like that. We felt that the burden is far less on us to fulfill a few guns here and belts and uniforms as we obtain those officers through our budget versus trying to eat $192,000, cost. So that's where we stand. Sorry, I rambled on. Just trying to give you the best information I can. So I stand for any questions.
No, I just want to commend the Deputy Chief Taylor for doing a great job of finding us a better price. Because basically what you did was $45,000 buy one more vehicle. There were savings that you did, so you did a great job on that.
It was a combination of other officers. Maybe standing here speaking to you and getting all the golden stars, but I had plenty of help and they did a great job as well.
Your whole staff over there did a great job.
Yes, thank you.
I think you've done a good job for this community on taking care of it like this. So thank you.
Any other comments? Questions? Ready for a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the purchase of equipment installation to outfit 16 2023 Dodge Durango police units to Dana Safety Supply in Oklahoma in the amount of
203.
It's 203.
Where is it?
Right here.
203 and then
The amount of $203,149.50.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I mean, you want to put it on the consent? I don't know whether we'll get by with it, but we'll put it on the consent.
We can try.
Pull it off.
Yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, any opposition to the motion? Hearing none, passes 4-0.
Counselor Perry, are you there?
I am here. Thank you so much. Yes.
Okay, so moving on to next item. Leaky Brook.
Mr. Chair, I'm getting sick and tired of hearing me. Oh, it's after this, I'll sit down and shut up. So we are here asking for the approval to use the capital appropriations funds that were previously set or awarded to repair, renovate our West Second building. We have worked diligently over the last 2 years into 2021 appropriations grant. We have worked on trying to get renovations at the mercy of vendors and contractors timelines. But we have come up to pretty much a bad situation where the roof is leaking very, very bad. So, and I will identify that on the abstract, it does state that we took or obtained this building in 2021. That's false. It was actually 1920. That's a typo of mine. We obtained that building in 2020. People had to move out of it, move around and such. At the time that we took, I guess, kind of possession of it as a police department, it was identified that the roof was no good at that point in time. We weren't told that prior to, but now it's all of a sudden it's bad. So the city had provided $400,000 at that point in time for renovations and repairs for that building to have us move into that building. It was about 200 and I think it was like 280,000 of that money was pulled and they redid the roof. When the local company fixed this roof, they replaced the membrane up on top, but they didn't take in consideration that they didn't fix any of the slope problems, any of the decking problems. They just slapped a new membrane on there and called it good. And now we have a 2-story swimming pool. So anytime that it rains, it captures water, it holds water, and it finds any and every little crevice it can and it pours in there. Since this roof got repaired, of course, in Roswell, we don't get rain all the time. So we can go months and months and months, not know that we had a leak on our new roof. But when it did rain, we noticed this. Justin was barely on at this point in time when we first started noticing problems. He contacted the local company. They did come out and do very basic repairs, saying that they now fixed the problem. Again, we went months without any rain. It did rain. Now we have new leaks all over the place. We have since moved into the building by this time. We have evidence from hundreds, if not thousands of cases that are being stored in there. And so now we have all these leaks. Again, we contacted the local company. The local company says, well, too bad, so sad, it's out of warranty. The material itself is not out of warranty, but the workmanship of the company is now out of warranty and they will not repair it. And basically pretty much kind of washed their hands and said, we don't even want anything to do with it. Because they knew it was pretty much a crap show to begin with. So here we are with thousands of cases that have the potential of get destroyed evidence that could create huge litigation issues. Chair Corn would testify to that it's a bad situation. So we had this appropriation money for renovations and such. At this point in time, we identify that this is a have to get this repaired, and we'll worry about the extra wall, the extra fence, we'll worry about that. After that, we have to secure this building to keep it from damaging and running our evidence as the whole identified reason for this building. So with all of that being said, we do have an ITB with Custom Construction. They looked at it and they have come up with $251,866.08 to remove, repair, and replace the leaking roof on West Lake. As we all know, there is always in any construction some O-craps and uh-ohs that were never seen. So we're not knowing that this 251 is a solid number. But through our carryover that I provided, this number that's in here on your carryover has been actually updated. It shows 331,780, but it's actually 313 is what we have. So we do still have cushion of $65,000, which I believe should be hopefully, fingers crossed, beneficial to us. But this roof repaired, that's where the funding that we're asking for. Like I said, the appropriation funds are designed for the repair and renovation of this building already, so it's not going against this appropriation spending plan by any means or at all. And we would be using the money as a 2021 grant. We know that they only want to carry those for a couple of years. They're designed to be spent right away. We were trying, but now we're going to. And that would probably make stay happy that that money is being used and spent. And we can move on with life as we know it the next day.
Jim, what do you mean you lost the evidence?
Oh, I heard it. I don't want to go down that road. I don't want anybody else to know.
Questions? I'm not going to repeat it today.
Thank you.
Is there insurance in building? Or is it city self-insured? I mean,
There is insurance, but that's kind of outside of my realm as far as I know that we have looked into that situation, but because they're not going to insure a faulty application. So it was replaced, it was repaired, and that's how they deem, yes, it was. And because it was done faulty, that's not our fault.
insurance says we're done.
I would assume that's the ending result because that is pretty much kind of where I'm being told. Yeah, that it's prior damage or it's faulty workmanship, but we can't prove the workmanship is faulty because it's been done 3 years later and we've tried to reach them. They have been somewhat helpful, but they're just saying, well, it's too old, too late, and you're outside of the window.
Having firsthand experience with some of the roofing projects done for the city of Roswell, fix the outside, not worry about the underlayment or anything else. Get off the job, get paid because it ain't gonna rain for 3 years anyway.
And that's the issue that we never noticed any leaks until almost a year after we had this roof put on.
And if you've got a sloping roof, then it may not show up in that year.
And that is what custom construction, so their plan is to actually go in, they're gonna remove the membrane that's there, and actually replace any decking, any slope, damaged slope that may have been in there. And then they're gonna rebuild it from the deck up and now get a slope. Now it's actually it's not a flat roof. It was the most optimal would be to put a pitch on it, but it's such a huge building. It's so cut up that we're not able to feasibly do that financially. So they're going to actually put a sloped flat. So they will build it up and deck what they need to deck, fix what they need to fix, and get it to where it flows properly and doesn't retain water, which has been the issue.
we all know the city of Roswell, not only the city, but you look around at all the buildings in town, a large majority of them have flat roofs.
Santa Fe, nothing but flat roofs.
Well, that's the code, I think. It is. Okay, any other comments?
Question, Mr. Chairman?
Sir?
I would suggest that in this bid, that you at least buy at least 100-foot hose and a sprinkler to put up on the roof to run for a few months to see if it leaks.
Jake can supply that.
You've got some extra hoses. Get a big sprinkler. Then we'll know whether or not it rains. Fire trucks too.
And I'll be happy to sell you the water.
You know, it'll get paid. One way or another.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on this? What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the use of capital appropriations fund 21F 2693 in the amount of $251,866.08 to remove and repair and replace the leaky roof on West Second Evidence Storage Facility. And it go to the construction firm of Custom Construction.
Consent.
Yeah.
Consent.
We can try consent.
That's appropriation money.
It's an appropriation money, but we can try it.
A second.
Okay, we've got a motion for a second. We'll try it on like the other three of these. On consent. Give our pro tem something to do before the meeting. She can rearrange the agenda. All right. Any objection? Hearing none, motion passes 4-0. Okay, hydro excavator purchase. Next item.
This was the last piece of equipment that we had requested for our service line inventory that the EPA is making us do.
Okay.
We had, because of the price for it, we had to go out for bid. And 10 Point Sales and Marketing from Wheat Ridge, Colorado was the lowest responsible bidder that met all the requirements. And it is $9,099.51 under what we budgeted. I have worked with these Hercos before. What I really like about them is I can call the factory and I can have parts for it the next day.
Questions? No questions? Guess I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Counselor.
I move that we approve the award recommendation for ITB 24-001 for a hydro evacuator purchase to 10 Point Sales and Marketing in the amount of $80,900.49.
Okay, got a motion?
Second.
Got a second. Any further comments or discussion?
On consent,
Yeah,
on the consent agenda.
I want to give our pro tem something.
I want to see
I
the
want to
other.
make sure she's there on time.
It's not just her, anyone can pull. I just want to make sure everybody else is paying attention.
Well, worthy of consideration also.
Yes.
All right. So any objection?
He just found your $10,000. Wait. He just came $9,000 under budget, so you're okay.
I already spent it somewhere else.
So he doesn't share.
Okay.
That's what came on a report card to his mom. He doesn't play well with others.
When we talk about the rate study, you'll find out why I don't want to share anymore.
All right. Any objection? Hearing none. Give Counselor Perry another second.
Make him say all the things.
I'm trying to be nice to him. Okay, motion passes 4-0. to 0. Now we're on to minutes on page 148 for the July 6th meeting. Any changes? I looked pretty thoroughly, and I didn't see anything personally, but you may have a different.
No, I didn't find anything different.
Okay, so we're ready for a motion.
We'll do both.
We'll do them both at the same time.
What, your pleasure. Whatever y'all want to do. And let's look quickly at the July 14th minutes. Page on 154, and your stuff, I didn't look through it, didn't see anything that caused any reflection for me. Okay, so I guess I'm ready for motion on the minutes for July 6th and also the motion for the July 14th minute special meeting.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to consider approval for the July 6th regular Finance Committee meeting and the July 14th special Finance Committee.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Any opposition signify by saying aye. No opposition. Well, that works out. So now to number 12, which is
Only two, 12, which was
12, which was 10, which the waterway study. We've got our infamous.
infamous.
I tried to help him out. Robert Glenn.
Okay. So this, next slide. We have slides with,
That's all I had.
there was like 32 slides that went with this.
Amalia, do you have access to this file of finance? Not.
That's okay. We can do it the old fashioned.
Okay.
Read some of these numbers. I was hoping they'd be blowing up.
Well, I have stuff. You didn't want to see it.
Oh, you got the grandpa.
Yes.
I like the grandpa friend.
Okay, we can do that. So we were tasked with doing a rate study. It was in the budget for $70,000, which I've always said is a waste of money because we have American Water Works Association provides us the manual on how to do this. You follow the book and you fill in the blanks. So doing that, we've gone through and developed a water, and if you guys want to, we can do this with wastewater financial plan for a 5-year study period, which includes the second half of 2024 through 2028. We did an analysis of water customer cost per service for that same period, and then designed a water rate structure to go with the cost of service. We're going to talk about two different things. You have your cost of service, which is cost per customer per month. And it is totally different from what a rate is. You start with your cost per customer, and then you work that into your rate study. We're going to talk about access rates, which used to be called the base rate. We've changed that to access rate, and it's solved a lot of problems with the customers because they understand now that that's to access the system. And then the consumption rate is for the amount of water they consume. Our study assumptions were based on historical trends, number of accounts. It really hasn't increased. And our growth rate is 0.01% according to the Census Bureau. So we're kind of flat there. Annual water usage per account will decrease most likely if we implement the water tiered rates that are being proposed. Operating costs are going to increase with annual inflation rates. The general inflation of 2.3% in fiscal year 2025, 2.1 in 26, 2.0 in 27, 2.1 in 28. The 2025 also includes a 6% adjustment because we've had a flat rate for the last, or our budget's been flat for the last 3 years. All right. Go back one, I think, maybe one more. Yeah. You can go to the next one. Yeah, okay. So the utility department should maintain minimum operation reserves of at least 90 days for operation and maintenance expense, and a working capital, and we need an emergency repair account that is only accessible for emergency repairs. It's not, we're gonna fix somebody's water service today and we're gonna pull it out of that. And we'll talk about these a little bit more down the road here. We're going to strive to create, fund, and maintain minimum emergency reserve based on cost of the most expensive capital item. Currently, this is one of the country club tanks at $12 million. So we would like to, over the years, build that up to at least $12 million. And then anything over that, we can either quit billing for the emergency reserve amount, or we can take that money and by council action, transfer it to infrastructure or somewhere else in the water account. We had to make considerable assumptions on the consumption statistics because from what we can tell right now, Tyler wasn't set up properly in some of the instances, and we're not getting proper consumption numbers. We're looking into fixing that. We'll see what the issue is. Tyler's already working on it. When we tried to run the 3/4 meters, it comes up with an arithmetic error. So, what I did when I did averages, and I did it just middle of the road, kind of went through and looked at about 100 of the 3/4 inch accounts, and it averaged out, 50 of them were high, 50 of them were low. So it's a pretty good number. Any questions on the assumptions? So how is a water rate study conducted? You have the things that everybody has to do. You have to go out and collect your data. What are your expenses, income, rates, all of that stuff. The second thing is you go out and find out what your revenue requirements are. What does it cost to run the department? What does it cost for your employees? What does it cost for your maintenance? What should we be putting into infrastructure? What are the operating costs? And on the big sheet, it has all that listed. Minus one that we kind of found out about late. We do not have depreciation worked into this. So we're trying to figure out how to make that work.
It's a material amount for just water. It's $5 million. So they're looking at a $5 million expense that is not calculated in here. And it wasn't calculated in because it's not a budgeted item.
No, it's a non-cash item, the way we account for it.
But it's still ultimately.
It's an expense.
Yeah.
You're taking capital items and now applying them over time.
So that is something we're going to have to look at and figure out how we can take care of that. So after that, you go into your cost of service analysis. How much is the cost per customer per month? And there's a breakdown in here on that too. And then after you figure that out, you go into your rate structure design. How do you pay for your costs? Next. And next slide. Oh. So you've got to identify all your cost recovery Yeah, I'll identify all your costs to be recovered through rates and charges. We run this as a business. We have to make the money through rates and charges to pay the bills. That's one thing that citizens have a really hard time figuring out, is that this is not run by tax money. It is run by the rates that they are charged. So we need to track the cost for charging and who will bear the burden, provide guidance for future financial planning and rate adjustment strategies. Whenever you do a rate study, you have to look at least 5 years to find out what you're doing. And you should always, how we do it right now with our CPI adjustment, you shouldn't do that. You should look at your rates every year, find out what your expenses are going to be, and then set your rate from that. You need to evaluate the appropriateness of the water pricing. What are we trying to tell our customers? If you have your water rates too low, then you're telling them, just use all the water you want. If you have them too high, it's just the opposite. Then you have problems with people needing to meet their basic requirements and not having the money to get the water. So with that, you have to document the relationship of the financial planning process and the impact on your customers. What's all this going to show the customers and how are they going to react? And assess customer usage patterns and financial information for systems and operation and planning. One of the things that you have to be very careful, if you budget too much on the side of consumption and people start going, oh, all we have to do to save money is not consume as much, and everybody cuts back considerably, then you're going to lose that revenue that you had planned to use. So all of this stuff was done with the best practice guidance. Use the good book, Principles of Water Rates, Fees and Charges. It's the M1 manual from American Water Works Association. Any rate study that you look at done by an engineering group will say that it is based on this manual. And this rate study was conducted by the methodology and guidance of this manual with the 7th edition. And next. So how are we compared to other New Mexico municipalities? This is the 2022 Water and Wastewater User Charge Survey for the 2021 rates. So if you look there, the residential, the average rate is $41.64 across the state. Right now, our rate is $19.73. This is one of the reasons that we don't get the grant money, is because we are not charging what the going rate is across the board. The minimum is $10.02, which is closer to what we're doing. The maximum is $127. Don't really need to go that far. Next. So area rate comparisons. This is a comparison with Carlsbad. Get there closer. So the 3/4 inch meter in Carlsbad, a residential meter, is $11.93. And that's what we try and compare everything with, is a 3/4 inch meter. That's the most of what we have. And then their incremental charges per 1,000 gallons is $1.40. And then it goes up from there. Next one. The access charge per month for residential service is $13.60. This includes the first 3,000 gallons of consumption. And then the volume charges are anything over 3,000 to 13,000 is $2.85 per thousand. And again, it works up from there. City of Las Cruces, for a small commercial, their access rate is $15.75, and their gallon, per 1,000 gallons is $1.99. Large commercial, $37, and the volume rate goes up to $2.24. And then the bulk rate is the $23.50 a month, and in the $3.32 per 1,000. Truth or consequence, their base rate is $16.34, and that includes the first 2,000 gallons. Then they have the same incremental as it goes up. Next. Tucumcari, their base fee is $22.19, which includes the first 2,000 gallons. Next. Clovis, they do theirs a little different, and it's per dwelling unit charge, but it works out to be about the same as our base rate, and it's $25.36. And then they charge per 1,000 gallons from the first gallon used.
But Clovis is actual commercial. It's not the city of Clovis that runs it. It's a commercial entity.
Okay, that I didn't know, but that's their rates. Next. Raton Municipal Residential, $13.75. Again, they do not have a minimum. They start billing you at $0. And then they have an urban commercial, and it's $15.85 per meter, and then $3.32 per 1,000 gallons. Rio Rancho, a 5/8, a 3/4 meter is $12.36 flat rate. And then based on single family, multifamily, whole bunch of different options there is how much they pay per 1,000 gallons over 6,000 gallons.
Expensive.
Santa Fe, their base rate on a 3/4 inch meter is $18.42. They do theirs a little different too. They break it out depending on the month, September through April. You pay $6.06 for the first 1,000 gallons to 7,000 gallons. And then anything over that is $21.72 thereafter. And then when you get into May through August, it's $6.06 per 1,000 for the first 100,000 gallons, or 10,000 gallons, sorry. And then Santa Fe does the same thing. Theirs is all broken up into monthly fees, depending on what month. But there's, if you notice, on both of these, their consumption charges are quite a bit more than what their base rates normally are. So the problem with doing a rate comparison is, what are you comparing? You have you're comparing apples to oranges most of the time. What does the community have? Is it a groundwater system? Is it a surface water system? What's the quality of water in the treatment process that their water has to go through? And what's their customer base? Is it more commercial? Is it more residential, more industrial? The size, condition, and age of the system are a huge factor. And what is their percentage of unaccounted for water? Unaccounted for water is water that was produced but not built. And where does that go? It's leaks and people stealing water from you and all that kind of stuff. What is that amount? And then you come into the production versus compensation or consumption. When I worked in West Yellowstone, Montana, they had a system up there that the system was completely redone in 1988. Very simple system, has a spring that fills a 5 million gallon water tank and then flows down the mountain into the system. There's no pumps, it's not chlorinated, there's no treatment, nothing. We charge $5 a month for a base rate. And because it didn't cost anything to run the system. When I was running the system up in Spearfish, totally different. we were still digging up redwood stave water pipes in some of the older sections of town. So when you have infrastructure that's that old and leaks that much, it costs more to run it. General water consumption, climate, water conservation efforts are also a factor. What's the per capita water consumption? Ours is very high. The national average is 100 gallons per person per day. We're at 240. And what kind of water restrictions do you have for your summertime usage?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I am sorry to interrupt, but that I think I may have misunderstood. Can you tell me the average water consumption per person national wide, and then also water consumption per person here in Roswell? What is that difference?
The national average is 100 gallons per person per day. Roswell is right around 250. Last time we did our water audits.
Wow, that just was surprising. So, okay, thank you. I just thought I heard that wrong. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So that 250, that's what we've charged? Or is that?
That's our consumption.
That's how much we pumped out of the? No, that's how much.
That's how much we billed for.
That's how much we billed.
Yes.
Okay. Because that's one of the problems I've always had when our rate study came through and the people came through and told us how we were going to have a free upgrade to our meters because of how much water weren't being charged. My statement was, we have so much water going down the street with how many main breaks we have. How can you tell me that?
And honestly, you can't, there's not a good way. All you can say is you have this much water that's not accounted for. We produce this much and we build this much. And that's the true number.
And that's what was my argument, because they kept telling us, and there's still counselors on our council today that turned and told me, well, it's going to be free to get all this $21 million worth of infrastructure. And I said, it's not free. Our consumers are going to pay for it and we have been paying for it.
And that's why you have to watch for the snake oil sales.
Yeah.
Next.
We already found him.
So, any questions on what we've done so far? These are just some fun things that come out from American Water Works, the no water, no coffee, and no water, no beer. We got to make sure that we don't get to that point. Any questions so far? Okay, we'll go into the rates now. The nuts and the bolts. Goal of the survey was to develop a water and possible wastewater financial plan for a 5-year study period, analysis of the water customer service class costs for that same time, and then to design a water rate structure to pay for the costs. Next. Data collection, we used the FY 2024 budget, and then we reviewed the last 4 years of budgets, collected information from utility billing, limited information available because of some Tyler issues, but we got what we needed. What are our infrastructure needs for the next 5 years? What are our operational and personnel needs for the next 5 years? And we need to make sure that we maintain our operational legal requirements, because we are a highly regulated department. We have state and federal mandates that we have to meet. And if we don't meet them, bad things happen. Next. So our assumptions, we use 18,412 customers, basically no growth. The CPI in 2024 was 4.1%. Personnel expenses through the study period, we figured at 5% per year. The inflation rates are listed there with the extra 6% in 2025. And then we figured a bad debt at 12.5% per year. That is the customers that don't pay their bills. And we use that over the last 12 months about, and that's where it comes out. It's right now, it's 12.5% of what we should be billing, we're not getting. We need to start looking at an infrastructure reinvestment program. Part of that is you have three alternatives. The minimum is just kind of what we're doing now. Just trying to hold the system together, lots of bubble gum, baling wire, and duct tape. The minimum, health, safety, and regulation plus selective investments. That's what this rate study is based on, is this one here. And you do all the projects from the top one, you meet your minimum standards plus selective investment. We go out and find out what infrastructure we need to work on, and we work on that as money is available. And best practices, if Janie would get her printing machine fired up, you need about $8 million a year to do that the best practice stuff. And that is going out and doing aggressive infrastructure reinvestment. Next one. So like I said, I based this one on the kind of middle of the road. What it's going to cost us in millions of dollars is in 2024, we're looking at 4.63, 2025, 4.0 million. Same thing in 26, going up a little bit in 27 and 28 to $4.5 million. If we went with best practices, 8 million, and 10 million. And if we go down to what we're doing right now, it's like 1.5. So I kind of took the middle of the road because when I did the rates on best practices, it was way out of the ballpark. Next. So in your packets, here's this is where the rate study starts. You go through and you figure out what your cost per customer per month is. The top of it, you have all your expenses. So we have personnel expense, we have operating expense, we have 2 New Mexico loans, we have a smart meter bond, we have another loan for our Edgewood water line, we have another loan for our country club tanks, and we do a transfer to the air center to pay for our water rights that we buy from them. And then capital. Scroll up a little bit. We go down below, and this is all proposed stuff. The first column here, this is where we're at right now with our budget as it stands. So right now we're looking at a cost per customer of $60.01. Under the proposed plan, where we're doing that middle of the road infrastructure selective stuff, the proposal would be in January, it would be a 34.64% raise. So our cost per customer goes up to $80.80. The next year, we would have a 15.5% increase, which would bring our cost up to 82.09. The next year, it's only a 0.6% at 82.59. The next year, it's a 5.15%, and that brings it up to the $86.84. Then the final year, it goes up 1.93% at 88.52. Again, this is not a rate. This is what it costs us per account to provide the service. One of the proposals that I'm making on this is that we create some restricted accounts with some very tight restrictions on what that money can be spent for. The emergency repair account, the debt service account, infrastructure reinvestment, and capital outlay. Those would be restricted accounts that could only be used for those purposes, with the ability of the council that if you want to move money out of one of those accounts, we would propose that first month you hold a public hearing to explain why you're going to do it. The next month you have a vote, and it takes a supermajority of the council to pass to move that water out of, or move the funds out of that account. It shouldn't be easy to move these accounts around. This is money that our ratepayers are paying for a specific reason. Another thing that I broke out was the infrastructure reinvestment and the capital outlay. Right now, they're all together. I'd like to see us pull the capital outlay out and infrastructure and separate them so we can show our people what we're spending the money on. I like, the infrastructure reinvestment in the second half of this year, we're looking at trying to bring in $2 million. And then it's 4 million, 4 million, 4.5, 4.5. I talked to Lewis about this briefly. He's hoping that we can use this money to leverage some state funds. And instead of doing what we've been doing, where we get, 50% loan and 50% grant, if we could use 50% cash and 50% grant, we can double our money every year. He says that they're pretty receptive to that usually, because it shows that we're putting our money into it too. And again, here's the emergency repair account. I talked about that briefly. We just that would take council action to spend that money. We would have to go to the council and say, the line underneath the railroad track just blew up. It's going to cost us this much money to fix it. It's an emergency repair that we have to do, that we can't wait till the next year to do it as a regular budget item. We have to do something with it. But again, it would take an act of the council to say, yes, go ahead and spend that money. One of those good restrictions. Next. So over the term of the 5 years, the financial plan it's a 32.36% increase in January this coming year. In 2025, it's a 15.05% increase. 2026, 0.5, 27 is the 4.95, 28 is the 1.86. A lot of the reason for that is the debt service. It depends on when those loans come online, how much we have to pay, and how the payments fall. Next. So a comparison of how we're doing things now. So right now, we've talked about the cost per customer per month, gone down through. You come over here on the infrastructure side with the middle of the road investment. We're looking at $18.73 per customer per month in cost. Then it goes to $18.10, $18.10, $20.37, $20.37. And that's to bring it up to this amount here. Every $1 million, it costs about $4.50 to generate that money. Excellent. So water rates. There's a significant change and increase in the proposed rate structure. This will increase. We're proposing this increase to cover that minimum with the selected investment. And it brings up our infrastructure reinvestment program to increase to the next step in the program. Would require an increase in the access or base rate of approximately $5 per month per customer. Proposed rates are comprised of access or the base rates, consumption or volume charges. Access charges are monthly fixed charges that vary by meter size and recover customer-related costs such as operating expenses, personnel expenses, debt service, capital and infrastructure reinvestment. Volume charges are assessed for monthly usage and recover volume-related costs such as raw water supply, treated water average, and peak demands. You use the consumption charges to work on your variables. You use your base rates to do your fixed costs. Next. So this is kind of how your water works through stuff. You have your real losses, and that's your leaks in your main breaks, tank overflows. Then you get into, you have billing errors because they happen. You have theft of water, which we're getting quite a bit of lately. We had somebody that actually went through court the other day, got 5 days in jail because he found them stealing water. And the judge had seen them 3 times and was tired of seeing them. So they went to jail for a couple of days, had time to reflect. And then you have your apparent losses. There's a lot of places where you can lose water. Our job as operators is to go out and find those places. But once we find them, we have to have the funding to fix them. Next. So, the rates. This is the single family residential. On a 3/4 inch meter, our current rate is $19.73. The proposed rate increase would be $6.27, taking the rate to $26. And then the consumption, our old rate was just a flat $2.33 for anything over 3,000 gallons per 1,000. This actually goes into a tier rate, which if you want to water your lawn and have it really nice and green and your swimming pool and everything, if you go above 18,000 gallons, you're going to pay $6.44 per 1,000. When I built this, I tried to keep it so that it wasn't going to cost the average customer a whole bunch more money. But this is the way it worked out. And this is single family residential is exclusive use of a single family residence for domestic purpose. Next. Proposed single family residential rates includes monthly access and consumption charges. These include the first 3,000 gallons. The table shows the proposed charges for a 3/4, 1 inch, 1.5, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, and 6 inch meters. Anything in excess of 3,000 gallons gets done in the 6th block increasing volume charge. And it goes up from 3,000 gallon increments. Next. Small commercials. Right now, all we have is a rate. This would create a small commercial. This is a commercial endeavor that uses less than 50,000 gallons per month on average over a 12-month period. We would use the fiscal year as our comparison year. That talks about it down here, gallons, 3 months or more over 12 months of the rate classification period of the city fiscal year. So the current rate is the same. These rates here are the same as a single family dwelling. This would be your mom and pop stores downtown that have a bathroom and a sink and maybe a drinking fountain. They don't put a lot of burden on the system. Next one. Again, it's the monthly access and consumption charges. Small commercial is defined as any commercial enterprise consuming less than 50,000 gallons. And it has the six block rate increase like the residential. Next one. The large commercial, the old rate is again $19.73. The new rate, the new proposed rate would be $43. It's a $23.27 increase. The reason for this increase and the reason for charging these people more is they have a bigger demand on the system. We have to, when we put in the pipes and lay the infrastructure, this costs us more to provide the water service to these customers. So they should pay that higher rate to manage the infrastructure. Again, these are for the people that are over 50,000 gallons per month. Next. Again, it's set per meter size and includes the first 3,000 gallons. And then it has a three block increasing rate structure instead of the 6 block. Next, fire hydrant meters. Right now, we charge $51.13. That is based on a 3-inch commercial meter. The proposed, again, it would be go back to the other rates for a 3-inch commercial meter, and it's $85. The water usage does not change. We're charging adequately for that one. Next. Irrigation meters, we're thinking about 140 or so of those. People put them in just for irrigation, so they don't have to pay the wastewater fee on top of that. It's usually done in commercial applications, and the proposed fees are here. You end up getting a little bit more charge on the consumption rate, so we're going to the water conservation concept going there. We have problems with this one because we haven't broke them out in the past. We'd have to go through and find out for sure how many of these particular meters that we have and what their consumptions are, but I did a comparison of other places and what they use. Next. One of the things that a lot of places have now is a customer assistance program. You'll notice on your power bill or your gas bill, you have the little thing where you can check the box and donate $1, $5, $10. There's also some grant funding out there that can help us with that. And maybe even if the council decides we could use some of the money that we collect on the bad debt line item to help fund that. What I would propose is that we tie the eligibility to the EBT or other public assistance program. That's making it so our staff does not have to decide if somebody qualifies. If they qualify for EBT or public assistance, then they would qualify for our program. And it would be just whatever funding we have, and when it's gone, it's gone. And Janie and I talked about this a little bit. We don't want to pay their entire bill. They still need to have some skin in the game. So they can get a percentage of their bill, some help on that, but not their entire bill. Next. So our recommendations is to adopt a new rate ordinance to meet the needs of the water utility into the future. We need to begin a reinvestment in our infrastructure and begin rebuilding our fund reserves. Right now, we have no reserve funds. If we were to have a major water break somewhere in town, we're going to come with our hand out to the general fund because we don't have money to take care of it. Create restricted fund accounts for emergency repairs, infrastructure reinvestment, and capital outlay. We've got to do that so we can quit raiding those accounts. That money is put in there by our ratepayers to pay for the service. There are city services that we need to pay for, and we need to figure out a good plan on how to do those indirect costs for management, for personnel, that kind of stuff. But just going in and going, okay, this year the general fund needs $2 million. And then, that's what our indirect costs were that year. That doesn't work anymore, mostly because the money's not there anymore. It's been taken out. And then do a bad debt assistance program fund. Some way to take care of the people that are having some problems. I think we can fund that through a lot of donations. When I talk to the gas company and the power company, they have a lot of people that participate in that. Next. Questions or comments? Questions?
I just got to say, Mr. Chairman, very eye-opening piece of paperwork you've done here.
It's scary.
Very scary. From the fact of what our debt services are. We just keep kicking that can down the road. We're not getting that properly built into the rates because you're always behind. You never get ahead. What you're proposing here is going to put us ahead. It's a painful increase for people, but it's going to go make major steps to make sure that the water department is fiscally sound. And then we can start not having to go borrow 16 million or whatever million we did for this. Some of these we'll be able to fund out of our own and not be making these loan payments and kicking that can down the road for 20 years. And I commend you on this. Sure, it's going to need to be tweaked or whatever to make this thing really work. But this is really a transparent piece of paper that says, here's what it costs. And we have been, and you've said it, we have been supporting the water fund through the general fund. And this is a business. As you said earlier, it truly is a business. And we've got to operate it and stop subsidizing this business with the general fund. And that's what we've done. And so this moves us away from that. I think this is an excellent bit of work that you put together here.
Like I said, the only thing that sheet does not include is the depreciation.
Right.
So we've got to work through that problem there and find out how we're going to take care of it.
With you on the side on that, because you got your capital expenditures out here that creates the depreciation.
Well, and I
You
agree.
can't
So it's
double
all,
count those things.
and we talked
You
about
can't
that
double
earlier.
count. If you're going to put depreciation in, that's recovering costs.
But it's going to be depreciation from this point back. That depreciation expense going back, not picking up the new items coming on.
Yeah, because you'll be double dipping or you'll be double charging. So you've got to be specific on how you're going to do that calculation. So either you're going to have the debt service in here or you're going to have the depreciation in here, one of the two. You can't have them both. Because both would be, if I went out and got $10 million in debt and I got to service $10 million debt and I got a $10 million asset over here, I can't take that $10 million in depreciation and say that's the real cost here, but I'm going to recover it through my debt recovery is what I'm going to do. So you just have to be careful on how we do that, moving ahead. You're probably not too far off.
What I'm hoping, what I'd like to do is the other places I've worked, you fund your depreciation. So like on a truck, you depreciate it out over 5 years. And at the end of that 5 years, you've got the money again to replace that truck.
Right.
And that's what I want to do.
But I'm not an accountant. So that's something she needs to figure out. But that's, it's one of those things. Depreciation is something I've always had problems with. I know the concept, but figuring out the nuts and bolts of it, that's what Janie's going to help me do.
You've pretty well got a good handle on it.
Yeah.
Because you take an item and 5 years, you're trying to get your cost recovered back in. So at the end of the 5 years, okay, I've got that cost recovered. I can go buy a new one and do the same process over again. So you pretty well got that under control there. So just to make sure that anything we buy with debt, though, you don't put that in your depreciation schedule.
Right.
Got to take those out.
So with the infrastructure reinvestment, Lorenzo and I have kicked this around a little bit. What would be nice is to kind of take a year off and build that fund up and get it so what you're building your money in the account in year one, and then in year two, you have the cash and pay for it. So you're always paying cash for your stuff.
Right. Because right now we're looking at those water towers, taking on $3.5 million of debt, if I recall what that number was, something of that nature.
3.5 in loan, the other is grant.
4.4. Yeah, with 3.5 in a loan.
Yeah.
4 loan, 3.6 loan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're tacking on, which I think he's got in there as his projection, but stop doing that. Get it ahead of time. So.
And then if Lewis is right with what he was saying, and we could use that money and, and then double it every year with grants and stuff like that, that's a lot of money.
Yep.
And that's a lot of stuff that we can be doing to fix our system.
Yep.
The thing is we're going to pay for this one way or the other. We're either going to pay for it through raising the rates, or we're going to pay for it by taking it away from GRT.
Yep.
Because this stuff is happening. We have infrastructure that's bad. So we're either going to have to start maintaining all that bad stuff by hiring more crews, because right now I'm like 2 days out on leaks. By the time it gets called in, my guys are out doing other stuff, and it takes them 2 to 3 days to get there.
Right.
But without these rate increases, we won't be able to go after grants.
Well, and we can get grants, we just don't get as much because we're not meeting the state minimum requirements.
Yeah.
They want to see that we're putting skin in the game and that our customers are paying their share before they will kick in everybody else's money.
Yep. Well done.
So what we've asked is, we will bring this back next month with the depreciation and some other stuff figured in. But I wanted to get your comments to see what you thought. Where are we at?
And this is only water,
Yeah, this is only water.
not wastewater.
And
It's not
along with
wastewater.
that,
It's not
do
wastewater.
you want us to do one for wastewater? Because we can do the same thing for wastewater.
Well, I think we need to see where we're at.
Well, and then wastewater, we also are looking at large bill coming down the road when we have to expand. But one of the things before, I would think that we try to take this to council. I think we need all 10 counselors sitting in here at a workshop going over it. Because I do appreciate it. I think the education of it, though, is we've got to push the education so that people know that, we have, we're fortunate that we have a lot of water. We're not Portales who's, having to ration. So there's the education portion of it. And also, to realize that, the average rate's $41. Now, we all know that we get well water 100% compared to mixing surface water and well water. And the cost of producing surface water to potable water is a lot higher. And that's why you're looking at $127 average or high end. Because when you're having to pull river water in and make it potable, it's a lot more expensive. But we know that, but we still need to educate our consumers.
And Councilor Arnold brought that up when I was showing her some numbers earlier. She said, people don't know that. She didn't know that. And that's our thing is we need to get this information out. Did you guys get this in your packets? So this is the infographic that I used when we were doing this up in Spearfish. I went through and tweaked it for ours. What I'd like to do is get this sent out in one of our water bills. And all it does, it doesn't say that we're going to do anything, but it explains where the money goes. How's it used? Why do you pay for this?
Well, and the reason why I pushed the Clovis one, it's a private, I think it's, as far as I know it, there may be others, but EPCOR is actually the one, it used to be American Water that owned it. Now it's EPCOR, I just looked it up.
There's several of those out there.
And it's an actual for-profit company.
Yes.
And so, scary part about that is I don't want to turn our water over to a corporation because the other thing, American Water, or when it was American Water in Clovis, they supplied a lot of water to all the ulcers all over, and they bottled it and shipped it out. I want us in control of our water. And so.
And that was a big deal 10 years ago, is there was a lot of the municipalities that were selling their water to a company to run it.
Yeah, that's why I don't need one.
And then they have found that that's not a really good thing to do. It causes problems.
Well, because they're going to make a profit. Yes, period. That's what they're in for.
And our job is to break even.
Yeah.
We're not supposed, if we get the money from our residents. We're supposed to spend that money on our residents.
And that's what, building up these funds are great. But if we end up to a point where we're having to transfer a lot of that funding out, then we're taking too much money from our residents.
And that's why that's why you look at your rates every year.
It's not used to pay for something else.
Yeah. And if you don't need to, if you have enough money in one of your funds, the next year you take that out of the rate.
Right.
And that's why you have these tiered rates and the way it's built. So it's easy to do that. You know exactly how much, okay, we're going to have an infrastructure vacation this year and you're not going to get charged that $18. Or the emergency fund gets built up to the amount that we want and then it just sits there. And we don't charge them the $4 a month for that.
And it'll be easier to justify because we won't be doing the CPI.
Right. You're absolutely setting rates every year.
Based on expense.
You realize that you're paying $6.56 for people who don't pay their water bill?
Okay.
But that's another issue because I still think that's one of those things that we've got to get to a point where we're doing a better job.
Well, we're going down that path.
Well, not just collecting, we've got to do a better job of getting to the point where before that, I mean,
yeah.
I keep getting told we don't have the people that can call. We don't have the people that can go put notices. But, you know, the electric company puts notices on your door. The gas company puts notices on your door before they shut off. They call, they do all kinds of things. Oh, we can't do that. Well, they do it. So, and we can say, oh, they should just pay their rate. Well, that's great, but that's why we have $1.4 million owed to us. We've got to get it.
You can hire some people for one. If you drop that number in half, you can hire some people.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. If the gas company has, they're a lot bigger than we are. Electric company is a lot bigger than we are. They have the personnel to do it.
They have personnel that.
By the way, we just got through having these great meters that we don't have to send meter readers out to every house.
Let's not talk about that right now.
And so
that is a whole other discussion.
I know, but I'm just saying. But we didn't get rid of any employees when we did that. So my whole thing, we've got to get to and that's us managing it better too. I'm not saying they don't need to pay the $1.5 million. They need to pay it. But we've got to, if you address it early enough before it gets too out of hand, some of the people can maybe.
It's kind of like the chicken or the egg. You need to put on some more people to see if you just get something effective going on here.
But we also need to convince people that if they talk to us, we can work with them. But just, coming in after you have 3 months worth due and just saying, well, don't shut off my water, that doesn't work. You need to let us know I'm having problems. I have classic example. I had a guy up in Spearfish that he only worked about 8 months a year and he didn't have the money to pay his water bill the other months. He set up a payment plan with us. So the 8 months that he worked, he paid more than what his regular bill was. And then the months that he didn't work, he didn't get a water bill. Never had a problem with him. He paid diligently. Those are the things that we need to be able to do to help our customers.
Yeah.
Everybody, we can build stuff as long as they fulfill what they need and we fulfill what we need to do.
Yeah, I think like the gas company, I don't know what they still do. They put you on a monthly budget plan.
Yes.
12 months out of the year, and then you got a time period out here where you got to settle up. And I don't know whether we look at.
We have that ability in Tyler.
Yeah.
Yes.
So maybe that's something we look at here too, is how do we take people and just put them on a flat budget? That way they know that they're going to pay.
And that's what we did with that guy. He had a balance. We set it up as a balanced billing.
Yep.
But we just set it up in that 8-month period.
Yep.
And it worked great. One thing that we really need to look at, and if you guys are even vaguely interested in this, I will get you the information. But a lot of our delinquent accounts are from renters. They come in, they set up their account, and then they just leave. A lot of places are making it now so that if you're a landlord, it has to be in the property owner's name.
Well, haven't we already, what is it now? Because don't we have, we sent something out just.
If you're renting, you can say you're renting to me. And you come in and fill out a piece of paper that says, I own the property, but I'm not responsible for the bill. And that's all they have to do. And we cannot go back after the property owner for that money.
But if that tenant moves out and we have a new tenant in,
We can't hold them hostage for anything.
we can hook up water to the new tenant.
Yes.
Okay.
We're
That's what I
required,
wanted.
yeah, we're required to hook it up to the new tenant. Now, if the old tenant moves across the street and still owes us money, they don't get hooked up until.
Right.
But then they go put it in their wife's name, the girlfriend's name, the dog's name, whatever. And that's one of the things that credit check is going to help us with.
I've always felt we deliver water to the property. I don't care who lives on the property. We deliver water to that property and the property owner is responsible. That's where I believe it needs to go. And you want to use this argument, well, the property owner didn't pay my water bill. Well, there should be some form of action to stop that. You got to think that thing through. But we can't do a dang thing once they walk if we don't attach it to the property. And if we attach it to the property, then you have the capacity to lien that property. The way you do it now is we don't have that capacity to lien that property. And I strongly believe I don't care who lives in that house and what the arrangement is, we deliver water to that property. And that's who's responsible for it.
And as a property owner and as someone that has rented in the past, I've always wanted to pay the water bill because I wanted them to water the yard so that.
I've done the same thing in my group.
So that, because the first thing a renter does that has to pay the water is they quit watering the yard. Well,
right.
that yard that you put in is an investment for your property.
Yep. So you can either, that's a landlord issue, whatever they do. But I strongly believe that we should be attaching the property and not the individual.
And we have now gone out, I think we're up to 7 or 8 liens that we filed.
I don't care.
And we're not filing it on little ones. If that one person owes us over $5,000 on a couple of properties, if it totals up to more than 5,000, we put a lien out.
You made a presentation some time back on certain properties that were excessive, 20-some thousand.
Yes.
How effective have you been in collecting those?
What was that one that we collected?
Larry Ruckman, title company paid it off before closing because he had a balance of 32,000.
So we didn't get that.
We got the full balance collected.
See, yeah, that's where we attach the property.
And now that one we didn't, but the bank knew that there was that money owed.
Yeah.
And they didn't want something tied up with their customer that was buying the property.
Yeah.
So they made sure that was paid off.
Yeah. Well, those are the issues we've got to get on.
But now now the title companies are working with us and the banks and stuff. So they call us and say, hey, is this one clear? And
Well, and if you're wanting to change something to where it's the landlord's responsibility, we can do that.
Chair, I've got parents showing up in a few, by 5 o'clock. I've got an open house that with school's starting. That's why I was
already.
I'm sorry I was a little late, but I was getting my classroom ready and then rushing down here. So this is the rest of this information. All right.
thank you for stopping by though. It did help us when you stopped by the office and we went over some stuff.
Well, and
that helped.
You've done a great job with this. And the fact that we did the same, we paid for the sanitation study. And they missed things that we still have to go back and look at that. I like having a commercial versus residential and even being able to show that even though we're charging the same amount for water, it's a different service that we're getting.
So as a committee, did you guys want us to work on wastewater?
Oh.
Okay.
So what percentage of meters, smart meters, are we actually reading without sending somebody out? Percentage wise?
That number.
Best guess.
86%.
86%. So we've still, 14%, we still got to send meter readers out.
And we kind of know what the problem is. It's just a matter of getting it fixed. And it's not just an easy process because it's actually having the company write code.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well, I was just curious about that.
So can I ask, I'm working on that for sure. A real quick question. Okay, so I'm reading something on social media yesterday. One of our realtors in the guy from Brent's place, Jesse McDaniel, is talking about to pay his past tenants 2-month bill before his new tenants can get their water turned on. But I thought I just heard you say
they didn't have that paperwork filed. You have to file the notice to the city that says that I'm not responsible. So, and that's not city ordinance, that's state law.
Right. So advice to him is to get that.
Yes, get that paper, put in.
So I guess I read the same. So he needs to be educated. Yeah. On it so that he doesn't have that.
And there was articles in the newspaper, there was a bunch of stuff on social media about it.
Well, thank you for that. He was around the corner from me and I was suggesting.
Yeah. And they're filing, we're getting a lot more filings.
We're gonna lot.
Councilor Perry, do you have any questions?
Yeah.
The mayor has a question.
Yes, sir.
You know, when you look at this and, you know, he brought up one thing about the people that have another meter for their yard if they want to have their yard or whatever, it looks nice and they don't have that. But, you know, that's something I think that there are a lot of people that like having a yard. And I think that's a fair thing to do if that's what they want to spend their money on. They ought to be able to have a nice yard. And in a like manner, though, when you have people that can't afford it, we ought to have some kind of program in here when somebody can't afford water, or if they come in with programs to plant native grasses or whatever else, so they don't use water. You know, there needs to be some consideration given in that, just to encourage people to do it. And we need to figure out something about people who if they put another piece of concrete in the yard rather than grass and not drive, just drive up and park in the middle of the grass and make the whole block look like hell. I mean, you need to sit down and look and see about what we're doing for people who, to reduce the amount of consumption that they have, that they use in water.
You will see that we're rewriting that chapter 26. We haven't got to that section yet, but we have the section on water conservation. And that's what that task force is working on, is putting some of those ideas together. Because we should be able to do credits for people that are doing stuff for us.
I mean, people who, we ought to we need to have plans and have some kind of agency or work with the extension agent or somebody where you can have a plan to suggest to people how they quit using excess water. And problem when you have a running toilet.
One of the plans that we have right now, and we've actually talked to your brother about it, is teaching the zero-scape methods.
And then, and you turn around and really, when you look, I don't know how many people know that each one of those swimming pads costs about $350 a day to run. And so you start looking at it, well, that's $1,000 a day that we're pooping off. That's $7,000 every week, $30,000 a month. And we're pooping off because we don't recycle any of the water. It just goes down the drain. So we don't even put it sprinkle it out on the fields.
And we were talking about all you'd have to do is put a cistern next to that, collect the water, put a pump in it, and use that for irrigation.
Chlorinator in there or something.
Use it for irrigation, gray water.
Yeah, but, but that's, that's a pretty big hole you're gonna have to dig. So, that's why there's a lot of dig around in it. But, you know, I mean, there's other things here, but this study, I think, is, it's needed. And all this time, we should have been having, this should have been done 4 or 5 years ago.
And you need to study your rates every year.
Yep.
That should be something that we're doing January, February, when we're setting the budget and all that stuff. We should be doing a rate study for the next year.
But on the seals of this, when we go to sell it, we've got to be able to point out to the people out there how much more availability they will have, or we will have, to get grants to pay, you know, for those water tanks, just like the water tank. What the hell are we waiting 11 years to fix it for? And you could have fixed it if we'd have put $1 million aside for, you know, 4 years or 5 years. We could, you know, they'd have matched it or whatever, like they did this time. But, you know, we just got to figure out how.
And that's what we need to start working with Juanita's group to start getting basic information out about water rates. And then as we progress through this, getting more and more information out so people, oh, I didn't know about that. You know, and
One thing that's probably real true with this thing too, that's on a different level, is when you look at, years ago, Roswell was known as a tree city. And because we, you know, there's 2 trees in front of every house in this town. You know, and that's the way it was built. And you look at it today, and, you know, most of our trees are old and dying, and elms, and they're dead, and they're full of, need to be cut down and everything else. But we need to put something back. But you also have to remember that none of these trees are going to grow unless you water them significantly, because they'll die real quick. And you've got, you know, look at any tree that is used to being watered one way, if it's used to being watered deep, and you come along, you put sprinklers on it, that tree doesn't do as well as it does if you water the way the root structure grew. And we need to do something somewhere in here. We need to have some kind of a system so we can figure out how to encourage people to maybe run a line for a tree in front of their house, because the shading ability might help in a day that might be, you know, over 65 or 75 degrees, like we've been having.
the thing is, we have the people in this community that know how to do this stuff. Just need to get them together. And that task force that we have, that's a smart group of people. Our first meeting last month, got some great ideas. I think we'll try and maybe work them into a little bit more, some other stuff. So.
Any other questions? Thank you. This is very detailed, and as far as I'm concerned, you can start your wastewater side, because we're facing the same problems with that that we are now, and they both come out of the same enterprise fund. So may not run them together, but we need to be ready to go.
As long as I don't have to do solid waste.
No, that's.
You can give him the book.
Yeah.
You're loaning the book, like you did me, whatever you need it back, you just say, hey, give me that book.
But the one nice thing about doing this is, you know, if you look at our stuff up there, we had to create a vehicle replacement plan.
Yeah.
You have to have all that stuff in order to make this work.
You know, solid waste had $8 million in the bank, put that they did in. The only problem was somebody spent the money and then sat it to the property tax owners for the cost of putting that new cell. You remember, I don't think that's the way it worked, was it? Did they kind of stamp it? Didn't you have the money over there to fix all that? Yeah, so you know, you can't be blaming that poor guy over there. Got to pay him on the back, he spent the money. Where'd they spend the money? Oh, that might be another question we should ask.
That's the same stuff that you go back and look at ours, same thing.
Yeah.
crazy.
Pilot just went on.
But the other thing is that's not just here. That, it's been done for years everywhere.
Okay, anything else? Thank you. I think you did a very thorough job. You promised us to get us something by August. This is August. You fulfilled your mission. You didn't promise to have a complete thing done.
We'll have something back for next month, and then we can decide what we're gonna do with it.
You know, you guys figure out that appreciation thing.
We're gonna have to do some arm wrestling.
You'll win every time. You can wrestle all you want.
So now that we're gonna do it, spear fishing, never did it. Are you gonna come in here with a fish on a spear when we pass it?
As long as you build a fire so we can roast it.
Getting fired around here.
You know, and I use them as an example because the public works administrator that I worked for up there, she had been with the city for 32 years. Very smart, knew what she was doing. She started working for the city up there when she was 23 years old. And I still call her. I called her a couple of times on this to get some advice on things. When you have somebody like that that has the knowledge, you need to take that and run with it. And that's what she did.
So we're gonna move on. Let's talk about information reports, starting on 156. And we've got GRT first on the list, and then the grant status report.
I think you're with Lodgers Tax first. We're gonna look at this.
It's last on mine, but
Well,
whatever you want. Right, Mr. Chairman?
yeah.
Go for it.
This is the Lodgers Tax update for May activity, which was collected in June. We have 3 hotels that were late. Clarion did send us a letter last week saying that they are no longer in operation. They've changed the flag. It's selling for it. So we will have to take those numbers out of the reporting. We also were informed that the Hampton is going to be remodeled at the end of this year, beginning of next year. So those numbers will have to be taken out. And then Baymont was in short. Startup showed 55% that stayed for the month of May. Our ADR was about 1% from last year, and overall it's up 7%. Like,
Yeah.
So this shows kind of where we're at, or it's not the full fiscal year, because remember, we're always a month behind because they're not due until the 25th of the month. So we collected 107. Again, 3 hotels did not report. You'll go to the next one. This is the bed fee. We collected 54,313 and again, did not have them. Any questions?
Councilor Perry, you still with us?
Too long gone.
I guess he's not with us anymore.
Mr. Chairman, I'm here. For some reason, my screen froze and I could not get it to get off of mute, but I am here.
Well, we just want to make sure you're not trying to take a nap or something.
No, everything, you're running such a smooth meeting, I can keep my mouth shut.
Whoa. Okay.
That's a compliment. I'm not taking a stab. I'm just excited to see all these things
Careful on
happening.
those compliments, would you, Counselor Perry?
Well,
I'm here and I have to live with them. You're not here physically.
Well, I'm just suffering in 64-degree weather right now. It's just horrible. So anyway.
Oh,
Or you.
yeah, for you.
I'm in Palmer, Alaska right now, just getting my kids settled with school, and they're doing some work here on our house, and then I'll be coming back that way soon.
Okay.
Safe travel.
Yep. Okay, so Source receipts, is that what we're gonna do now?
Yeah, I don't see a slide there for it though.
I don't have a,
Juan did it. Did he not send you the PowerPoint?
send me the.
It made it in the packet.
It's in the packet.
Oh. Because I looked to see if it was in there, because I guess I want to report on it.
Okay.
For the month of July, we brought in 3.5 million. Budget was 3.1 million, so we're up 11.3 million above budget right now.
We're on a run rate of 42 million.
Huh? At
We're on a $42 million run rate, which is what we said our GRT has. So we're on that run rate. We're not above. But just because it's 4% above previous year doesn't mean.
No, this is above budget.
Above budget, but the run rate is still 42
The budget is based on 42 million.
million. But if you take your 3 million where you're at right now, that's your run rate. 3.5.
So we have a 358,335 variance, positive to the positive. Next slide is showing the actual versus the budget of an 11.3% increase. Next slide will show the cannabis. So for July of 2023, we actually received 19,141.
Yeah. Don't run off.
All right.
Come back. We'll talk to you.
He won't outrun me.
And that's good compared to, I think prior, yeah, 6,000 for the year. So
Now, we gotta book this separately, right?
we got a separate fund for it because they're making us separate it out, but we can use it for anything we want. And it was not included in part of the budget.
Well, it's not a whole lot of money.
Well, I know, but at least we can use it for anything we want. Now there's your $10,000, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's appropriate use of that money.
Yeah.
So that'll be on our budget.
I should be able to sell them water.
Some Cheeto flavored water in there.
Yeah. That and Girl Scout cookies, and we're good.
Ah, you guys.
All right, any questions? We're having way too much fun. Everybody's getting punchy after the long meeting. That's okay. All right, so now we've got debt schedule stuff.
Yes, and do you have that? Which one? The debt schedule. It was, oh, that one. Well,
There's no slide.
Found part of it.
it's in the packet. Mine is a little bigger than your packet is. What I did was went through and pulled all of the loans that the city has outstanding as of now and the ones that we are anticipating. Did you find it? It was in the one that,
You have to have a page.
Properties real fast.
175 of 177.
Okay. Come on now.
Maybe it's further back, that's why.
Let's start at 44 payments. FY 44 payments. Is there another column?
The other column is just my notes out there.
Okay.
That page.
It's one, you don't, it's gonna be further back.
Yeah, I got it.
You have yours?
So,
Okay.
go ahead.
So the top portion, we've got the municipal GRT bond series 2018. It's for the police vehicles that would have paid off on 8/1. So that loan ended this year. We've got the GRT bond series 2015. It goes through 2027. That is in the budget. But I've got your loan amount, the interest rate, the remaining principal, the remaining interest or the fee that they call it, payments, the maturity date, and I picked up the payments for fiscal year 24. These are budgeted in the budget. We've got the new 4 fire trucks on here. That first payment will be in October. That is not budgeted yet, but it comes out of the fire protection fund. And we don't even have the grant money in the budget yet. I don't know if Matt's received his actual grant agreement yet or not, but he's got enough beginning cash to cover this loan payment. The convention center is up there, recreation. And then the last one on there on my sheet, I don't know if yours is colored or not, is purple. And the reason it's purple is because it's an anticipated loan. So I went in and did a amortization schedule for it. So it could be a little bit off. That will start in February of 24, I believe. And that's for the Hobson Road flood prevention. They don't normally make us start paying our debt back until it's completed. The water towers are an exception to that. The next fiscal year we'll pick up payments. I'm estimating that payment in fiscal year 25 of $64,066. The airport only has one loan right now, and it goes through 29. That is in the budget. For some reason, the budget's overstated $2,259, but we've at least got enough budgeted to cover that debt. The next section is water and wastewater combined, because for loan purposes, we don't differentiate. For DFA reporting purposes, we don't really differentiate between its water and wastewater. But we have separate funds for it here. So I tried to put all of water first. We've got the smart meters go until 2037. The payment for it each year is about $1.6 million. Which is a lot. The water line replacement is the next one. It's $157,000. The drinking water, this is the water towers that are actually out at the airport. We've already started paying on that. It's $306,000. The Edgewood water line replacement will start this year. It's the first payment will hit in June of 24. It's only $15,000. And then I've added based on the documentation we received from the Water Trust Board on the Country Club reservoir rehabs, I've added that in of the $4.4 million at the 0.25% interest. The estimated payment on that's going to be $225,820.66, and I'm having that start in fiscal year 25 also. If all of this goes through, we should have that at least one tank completed this year. If not both, then all of that passes and all that. We move into wastewater. We've got the 2000, the water refunding bond series of 2014 A and B. Those are budgeted in. That right there is $1 million for those two. I've added the dewatering loan, which the original loan was $5.5 million. We did a second loan on it for $3.9 million. Both of those are at a 0.5% interest. I've estimated those payments as being $289,665 and then $206,189 for both of those. So you're looking at almost $500,000, and I have those starting in 2025, fiscal year 25 also. And the only loan that sanitation landfill has is the landfill, the Cell 5A and the Caterpillar. And that debt service is $569,000. But for total loans that the city had outstanding is 91.7, almost 0.8 million. The remaining principal is 68.9 million. Interest is 12 million. Remaining payments are 81 million, and the current debt for 24 is almost $7 million in just debts for loans.
Quick question. What's the anticipated date of the new cell filling up?
I would say you got it 2 years ago, looking at another 7 years. We changed our methodology on doing that, so it's next to the last, so.
Yeah, and we set it up to depreciate over a 10-year period because it's supposed to last longer than 10 years. So I'm hoping what we're seeing for depreciation purposes is that he's got 3 cells depreciating right now because they booked them as a long life and they don't last that long. So this last cell, we tried to do it shorter, so it'll fall off before he needs another one. So I'm hoping it lasts you 8 more years.
Those 2, that's 10.
I know, so.
So it's going to coincide with the retirement of this debt, to be like.
Right.
I'm gonna look at one of those debt consolidation loan things.
Insurance.
I would be there for that.
You know, council, that's 6.6 million will now go another 750 on top of that, 6682 plus, I think it's 750. About $7.5 million will be our loan payment.
Yeah.
Now,
Starting next year.
some of that doesn't come out of the GRT. And some of that's coming out of grant money and things, so.
Well, but some of them, if there's
Some
not
of
even,
it's going to come out of GRT.
well, and I'm going to use recreation, not to
He's not here.
insult anybody, but there's not enough GRT revenue for recreation to cover that.
Right.
So we have to use part of general funds GRT to
Right.
cover that debt service.
Yep.
Well, we're doing the same thing for water department.
And we're doing the same thing with the convention center.
Correct.
There's not enough revenue generated to cover the debt payment based on what was appropriated for GRT. So the only option is to pull it out of general fund GRT.
Well, you guys at the water company know how to run up some debt.
Right? Everything's expensive.
You need to go to a debt counseling class.
Make him take some accounting classes.
Approve these rates so we can spend more money.
I think you need to spend an hour with Janie and Mr. Cole because they're both very financial, highly conservative. And
Oh,
teach you
they both spend a lot of time in my office. They don't necessarily look happy, but they spend a lot of time in my office.
A lot of times just hearing no. I hear a lot of no.
You ever understand the power of no? The power of no.
Then we just have to find ways to work around.
That's not a good idea.
Okay, any other questions? Councilor Perry, you got any questions on that?
It was frozen. I tried my best. No, sir, no questions. Thank you for the presentation.
Okay. All right, now we're to the report on the RPD vehicle list. I've been part of the responsibility for this. This group put together a very good list, and I think we ought to continue getting this on a fairly regular basis. Gives us planning to, if nothing else.
I would like to see this on all departments, or the city manager should see this on all departments so that we look and see what age of our fleet is, where we're at, there's replacements, and go that whole and get on this. But I do have a question for the deputy chief. I counted up 40 patrol units on this list. Is that all we have is 40 patrol units, or is this list not complete? When I look at everything, the designation you have out there, I don't know who put this together for you.
The chief did.
Tally all those up, you only got 40 patrol units that are assigned to patrol.
Cars are on the list.
Hmm?
40.
How many total cars are on?
I didn't count all the totals. But the way they have it broken out here, they
That's
got,
not enough patrol cars.
I don't think so. I'm wondering whether this.
So I printed labels for patrol today and it was 3 pages and they were 30 labels each. So that would be 90 patrol cars.
Because they've got them, they got them marked for CID, they got them TSU, they got them patrol.
Right. Yeah, we have them separated in the Fleetio
I
system.
don't know if this list is complete.
I don't believe it would be complete.
Well, I'm wondering if the Fleetio would be,
But I will.
Well, everyone can have access to Fleetio. So if counselors could have access, anybody can.
I don't know that they want access. They want you to print it for them and explain it to them.
There's 67 on here.
Yes.
So they're missing 67 cars. Yeah.
Oh, that's like half of their fleet.
Well,
So they have 90.
Right, so I printed 90 labels.
Okay.
But,
It
you know,
can be improved upon, and hopefully it will be.
Yes.
But we know the chief is not he's not an accountant either.
I'm gonna walk out now.
He has to go with you.
So we won't bother with that.
Okay, any questions on the police report? Excellent observation. Feel quite confident. Anything else on that? Okay. We got anybody left online? This meeting's going for quite a while. I think it was very factual. Anybody online want to talk to us about anything? Going once, anybody in here?
You do realize that Jim says I can't talk, right?
What's that?
he's not here, so he's.
Oh, so I can do, okay, all right. Good job, guys.
Ms. Rita, you don't have anything to say?
My drip lines have been running since midnight. I need to go home and turn them off.
I see, okay, all right. Anybody else? Okay, then I guess we're adjourned. Thank you all. Appreciate it, had a big turnout, kind of